Dr. Jeff Volek says now is the time that we change nutrition over to low carb, now more than ever before. Click on that little box down there in the corner. Go to IGTV for full details on today's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, if you want to engage live in the content, you need to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live, just like all these wonderful people coming in right now. Thank you guys for all of your regular attendance here on Jimmy Rants. We do go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I occasionally throw in a 5 p.m. Eastern and occasionally on the weekends, but we try to make sure Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern is when we tend to do this most of the time. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here today. And finally, we simulcast as well on my YouTube live stream, so thank you guys as well for being here today. All right, so if you missed the live, you can watch it on replay over on IGTV here on Instagram. It's also over on YouTube. Type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants, and then, of course, JimmyRants.com. In case any of these social media platforms decide to go cray-cray on us, we want to make sure we have a backup. You'll recall last year, YouTube just deleted my whole channel out of nowhere in August. No explanation, no nothing. And then enough of you guys complained, they brought all the videos back, but they could just do that in a blink. So always, you'll be able to find the shows at JimmyRants.com. One final way you can listen to the show is we air audio snippet, kind of the best of the best kind of Jimmy Rants on the Living La Vida Low Carb show on Tuesdays. So today is Tuesday, and we have a 3 Jimmy Rant episode of Living La Vida Low Carb show. So you can listen to those 3. I generally try to pull together ones that are similar topic and make them all into one episode. So go listen at LLVLC.com. Okay, you guys, so 2020 is a big year when it comes to setting nutritional health policy in America. I've been talking a lot lately about the 2020 dietary guidelines are on the way, and that some of the Jimmy Rants that I've done recently kind of laments that they're not really looking at low-carb nutrition as one of the parameters by which they're creating these guidelines, which to me is crazy. I mean, if you're going to create nutritional health guidelines that all Americans are supposedly supposed to follow, wouldn't you want it to be based on all the evidence? Well, of course you would. But that's not what they're doing. And of course, I've done some Jimmy Rants as well that Coca-Cola is heavily involved in this because they created a medical front group to lobby on their behalf. And members of that front group are now members of the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Over half of them on the 2020 Dietary Guidelines are a part of this group that pretty much is a shill for Coke. So that could explain why they're not really interested in looking at low-carb nutrition. But low-carb nutritional health research is robust. And some of the biggest researchers out there are looking at ketogenic diets as it relates to your health. And in the realm of ketogenic research, you've got some really big names of people that have been out there for years doing research. You've got people like Dr. Eric Westman at Duke. You've got Dr. Stephen Finney, who's been out there since the 1980s. In fact, he was one of the first ones that applied ketogenic nutrition to exercise performance. Well, one of Dr. Finney's proteges is Dr. Jeff Volek. He is now doing his thing still in research. He's been out there for many years. He looks at every aspect of ketogenesis as it relates to health and sports performance and blah, blah, blah. Well, he wrote this opinion piece that I'm going to read to you here today. This is published on thehill.com, and it was an opinion contributor because he wanted to get the word out that this mess we've been in with COVID-19 the past couple of months underscores a significant lack of judgment in our culture. We have allowed to slip by and allowed to pass freely the nonsense that is nutritional health policy in America. Think about all of the messages that have been put out there about what a healthy diet is. Cut your fat, eat more whole grains, eat lots and lots and lots and lots of fruits and vegetables, cut your red meat, cut your saturated fat. All of these things have become so pervasive in the culture that people just automatically believe them to be inherently true when they're not true and never have been true at all. I did a recent Jimmy Rants episode where I explained why this happens, why people believe this stuff. Your first inclination when you hear new claims, your first inclination is not to analyze it and look it up and determine whether it's true or not. Your first inclination is to believe it. So if somebody says, oh, saturated fat's going to clog your arteries, your first inclination is, oh, it clogs your arteries. And most people kind of live in that belief land and they don't ever question things. And so you can see, especially with repeated message over and over and over again, these messages just, they're relentless. Healthy whole grains, artery clogging saturated fat, they just constantly push that on you to the point that they're in your consciousness, not as whole grains, but as healthy whole grains, not as saturated fat, but as artery clogging saturated fat. And so don't think you haven't been manipulated. And of course, a lot of you guys watching Jimmy Rants, you've overcome that, you've learned yourself, you've done your due diligence. But most people are still living in the land of, oh, okay, well, they say it's bad for you. My doctor says it's bad. The dietitian says it's bad. The TV commercials promoting food products, they say it's bad. Blah, 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 blah. Then it must be bad. That's where we are. But COVID-19 has put a new wrinkle in things, hasn't it? Because now we're seeing the ramifications of this diet that they have told us is healthy. Because if the diet they told us is healthy was actually healthy, why are so many people with metabolic issues having complications from this disease, from this virus? Why? Maybe the kind of diet that they've been promoting isn't exactly healthy after all. Maybe we've been doing things bass-ackwards and not really looking at things in its totality. Maybe we've too obsessed about just weight loss to the detriment of health. Maybe we've obsessed about calories when we should have been paying attention to hormonal response in the body. All these things we've been told matter probably don't matter much at all. And all the things we've been told don't matter, they matter preeminently. And thankfully, we have people like Dr. Jeff Volek willing to speak up in a time of crisis. And hopefully this, you guys, is the beginning of a paradigm shift that we've been hoping for. I've been at this 15 plus years, blogging, podcasting, and we have long been hoping what is going to wake America up, what is going to get them to pay attention to carbohydrate restriction as a viable way to get healthy, as a viable way to boost your immune system. Is this it? Is this the thing that's going to finally make people stop and reflect on, oh my gosh, what have I been doing in my diet? Why have I allowed all this stuff? I hope so. Obviously, I'm an optimist in that area. And obviously, I've been out here championing the cause for a very long time. And I'm going to keep championing the cause because you're always going to have people who will be gullible and fall for the latest nonsense that they spoon feed us. But I'm hoping this wakes people up and that we have people that are finally understanding that all the messages that we've been given for so long about nutrition especially have been so dead wrong. All right, let me get to this article. If you're just joining us late, Dr. Jeff Volek, he's one of the lead researchers of ketogenic diets out there, has been for many years. I'll tell you a quick little story about Jeff before I read his article here. In 2010, I had the privilege of testifying before the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee in Washington, D.C., and for the 2010 Dietary Guidelines. So it was 2 guidelines ago. And I was one of just a handful of people all across America, 330 million people in this country, and it was less than 100 people testified to this committee. And so anybody could testify. So I went there on my own dime, no special interest, just told my story. And I've told that story before here on Jimmy Rants. But also in the audience was Dr. Jeff Volek. And he got up there and he was reading, and they only give you 3 minutes. So you get 3 minutes to kind of say your piece and then you're out. And he was up there talking about a lot of the research he's done into carbohydrate restriction, and a lot of the things he talks about in this article he said that day. And so he's been one of the ones out there trying to influence nutritional health policy in America, trying to influence dietary guidelines, because he knows it matters. It matters in your health. If you care about your health today, then you need to listen to what Dr. Volek has to say in this article, because there's a lot of people out there, they don't give a rip about their health, but or they haven't up to now. But maybe COVID-19 is exposing that, and now they want to get serious. We have to be ready to give them good information. I think what Dr. Volek talks about in his piece here is part of the solution. All right, so again, this is from thehill.com. Dr. Jeff Volek wrote this. Nutrition policy must be at the center of the conversation. In the coming months, a lot of conversation is going to be centered around how to mitigate and prepare for other pandemics like COVID-19. As we look at the death toll from this disease, reports show that many of the people who died had obesity and other health-related ailments such as type 2 diabetes. There's a clear correlation between death rate and obesity and diabetes. The more severe, the higher the death rate. Nobody's going to deny that. Now, obviously, there's one-offs here and there of people that were seemingly healthy on the outside and metabolically okay. But most of the people that are falling prey to COVID-19 have these comorbidities, that most of them surround insulin resistance, which includes obesity, includes type 2 diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer. All of these are metabolic diseases of the same disease of insulin resistance. When you start wrapping your head around realizing we don't have heart disease rates, we don't have obesity rates, we don't have diabetes rates, we don't have Alzheimer's, we have the same friggin' disease. It's insulin resistance. And so if you get the insulin resistance under control, then you control all of these chronic diseases, which are all the comorbidities of the people who are dying from COVID-19. Dr. Volek continues, one way to mitigate all of these problems is we need to put nutrition at the forefront of the conversation. With a healthy population, America is better prepared to fight viruses and other unforeseen health concerns. I mean, that's so true. Think about what a sitting duck America was for COVID-19. The westernized diet is just absolutely atrocious. Between all the crappy garbage that you buy in grocery stores and fast food restaurants, there's just junk, and more junk. And look at what ran out first. Look at what people actually gravitated to in a time of crisis. They ran out of meat. They ran out of like a lot of the fresh, real whole foods. So I think when push comes to shove, people know what to get. Now, people also bought the junk food, don't get me wrong. They needed comfort food, blah, 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 but they're not putting the connection of 2 and 2 together, like Dr. Volek is pointing out in this article. They're not putting 2 and 2 together of what they eat impacting their ability to fight off this virus if they get it. The cost of avoiding pandemics will link to the overall cost of healthcare, but the bigger cost we should be looking at is the cost of poor nutrition and how our current U.S. dietary guidelines are hurting the nation rather than helping it. We should also look at why an approach based on the most rigorous science available, one that includes controlling your carbohydrate intake, continues to get omitted from the conversation. I don't think many people think about the role nutrition plays in their health. And you're probably thinking, what in the world are you talking about, Jimmy? How can people not understand that? Well, here's why. If people are told nutrition is all about calories and calories and calories and calories, then why do you care what form of the calories you put in your mouth? Well, as long as I keep them lower, it doesn't matter what calories I eat, because a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. And we've talked about that one before. 1,000 calories of steak is not the same as 1,000 calories of Doritos, Ding Dongs, and Coca-Cola. It's just not. But if you look at it as a calorie equation, and a lot of people do because that's what they've been told, then you don't worry about quality of food. So carbohydrate restriction doesn't even come into that conversation. But if you start talking about the hormonal impact of foods, then you've got a whole nother discussion entirely. Then what you put in your mouth matters. I cannot wait for the day for when it is going to be so stupid easy. And it's pretty much there now. We have CGMs, little continuous glucose monitor you can stick in your arm. We've got blood sugar monitors. We've got blood ketone monitors. You still have to go to a doctor's office to get your insulin run. But when the day comes that they have like a little micro thing in your finger where it constantly can tap into blood to test things, and people see in real time exactly what's happening to blood sugar, blood insulin, blood ketones when they eat food, it's going to be such an eye-opener. And if you've never tested your blood sugar after eating something you think is healthy, I'm going to propose you do an experiment. All right, so test your blood sugar. You can get a glucometer anywhere. They're everywhere, pharmacies everywhere. Test it before you eat, then eat your meal that you think is healthy. Then at 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, I want you to prick your finger and test. Or if you put that little continuous glucose monitor in your arm, you can test on a whim. And I want you to see the curve. Most people, if they eat kind of a carb-based diet, let's say it's a bagel with fat-free cream cheese, maybe some jelly, and a banana. I'm just making up a meal that probably people would eat. And at 30 minutes, you're going to see your blood sugar has spiked. By 1 hour, it's spiked really high. By an hour and a half, it still has not come back down to baseline. And 2 hours, it's probably still significantly above baseline. That is metabolic disturbance. That's insulin resistance. That's the ramifications of thinking it's all a calorie hypothesis and not a hormonal issue. These tools are at our fingertips, and the problem is the powers that be don't want you testing your blood sugar. They want you stepping on a scale and freaking out about how much weight you've gained or lost or whatever. That's it. They don't really care about blood markers. But Dr. Volek is right. They keep on omitting all the low-carb research. It's been out there. It is out there. They're just not paying attention. He explains why here in a second. Right now, the USDA and the HHS are in the process of updating the U.S. dietary guidelines for 2020, the government's nutrition policy. But once again, they will be leaving most Americans behind. Why? Because they focus their recommendations exclusively on healthy people, a shockingly low percentage of us. Think about the number of people that are truly healthy. They've never had any chronic health issues whatsoever, no hypertension, no hyperglycemia, no hyperinsulinemia, no chronic diseases to speak of. Think in your own life of the number of people that are just absolutely healthy, beyond reproach, have never had to worry about their weight, never had to worry about what they ate because they just were always healthy. I don't know anybody in my life like that. Maybe one or two. And I know a lot of people in my life. If one or two of all those people, and that's a percentage of the population, it's extremely low. And yet, that's what they're basing the dietary guidelines on. How many people look at the dietary guidelines and they think, oh, this is how you eat to be healthy? Yeah, everybody does. Everybody assumes, oh, if you want to get healthy, this is the diet to eat. No. They will be the first to tell you, we're not creating a diet that helps you lose weight. We're not creating a diet that helps you get healthy. We're creating a diet that if you're healthy, you should stay healthy eating this diet. That's the stated purpose of the USDA dietary guidelines. Did you know that? They've said it again and again. They keep telling us what they're about. And yet people still have this notion that dietary guidelines are the way to get healthy. No, they very clearly are not. They are leaving out nearly 3 out of 4 Americans who are currently overweight or obese. They're also leaving out the 50% of the population who are currently diabetic, type 2 or type 1, or pre-diabetic. This ignored group of over 100 million people all need nutrition advice even more than the rest of us in order to help them achieve better health in the process and save healthcare dollars. Can you imagine if we knew a natural way to control all of the symptoms and all of the ramifications of people that have type 2 diabetes, how much money would be saved? And do you know if people were taught, oh, you know, all those medications you take for diabetes and all those insulin shots and all the everything, you could get off of all of those things. Do you know how many people would jump at that opportunity? Because it takes a bite out of crime in their wallet, I promise you. And yet it's there. It's called nutritional ketosis. It's called a low-carb diet. And as we're going to see here, the ramifications of not talking about low-carb within the context of nutritional health guidelines is costing America a lot of money in healthcare. Since the U.S. dietary guidelines were first introduced, adult obesity rates have doubled. Childhood obesity rates have tripled. Annual medical spending attributed just to obesity nationally is nearly $150 billion a year, half of which is paid to Medicare and Medicaid. So a lot of the Medicare and Medicaid patients are older, typically. And as you get older, your metabolic health can tend to get worse. And if you've only been told about calories, then those worsening metabolic conditions is why you start packing on pounds. It happens. Rates continue to climb as well. Researchers have estimated that by the year 2030, if the current trends in obesity continue and don't get checked very soon, obesity-related medical costs, just for obesity in America alone, could rise by $48 to $66 billion a year more on top of what we're doing now, which is $150. It could be well over $200 billion a year just to help with obesity. And a lot of those costs are associated with like weight loss surgeries, diet pills that they're prescribing for people to take, certain fitness types of programs that they put them on that isn't really going to help people that haven't fixed their nutrition. Don't try to fix your weight with exercise if you haven't fixed your nutrition first. Nutrition is the key. Okay, movement can help as part of a change in nutrition, but movement alone cannot overpower a bad diet. The American Diabetes Association, listen to these statistics on type 2 diabetes. They've estimated that the total cost of a diagnosed diabetic rose from $327 billion in 2017, or rose to 327 in 2017 from 245 just in 2012. So in like 5 years, that was a 26% increase, and diabetes rates continue to go up. There's no question nutrition can prevent and reverse the effects of both obesity and diabetes, as well as prediabetes. And there's a good chance that other chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and neurodegenerative and neurological conditions would be positively affected as well. All of it's the same disease. Never forget that. Insulin resistance is the key here. And if you deal with the insulin resistance, then all the rest of these are taken care of. Unfortunately, until we acknowledge insulin resistance and come up with a plan to deal with insulin resistance well, we're going to continue to have guidelines from the U.S. government that tells us to cut our fat and to eat healthy whole grains and blah, 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 that all of us that have awakened to the nonsense that is, would just roll our eyes at now, because we know better. We personally have seen it change in our lives and seen it change in the lives of friends and people around us and people on social media that we hang out with. People's lives are being changed by doing pretty much the exact opposite of what they've told us to do. The American Diabetes Association has acknowledged the important role that nutrition plays in managing diabetes. They have even noted that low-carb diets may serve as an appropriate nutrition therapy, which I told you about on a recent Jimmy Rants. Diabetes Canada has also done that. Many Americans struggle to pay their increasing healthcare costs. The federal government grapples with how to better manage these costs. Changing the dietary guidelines would be a necessary, effective, and affordable solution. I struggle with this one, guys. Like, they know the answer is carbohydrate restriction. Let's not pretend like they don't understand that. Let's not pretend like they haven't seen all the positive research looking at low-carb diets, ketogenic diets. They've seen it. And it makes you wonder, what's the motivation for not changing? And you don't want to think public health has anything to do with the almighty dollar, but follow the money. If Coca-Cola has created a medical front group that has members that are a part of it that's being paid for by Coke, now over half of the members of the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee being paid by Coke, what do you expect them to do? Why wouldn't they ignore the research? I am hoping cooler heads prevail. Somebody blows the lid off of the ruse that is all of the messages we've been told about health. Because I'm coming to the conclusion, you guys, having done this for so long, having been an observer of the health space and how messaging is put out there, I'm coming to the conclusion that almost all of the decisions that are made have nothing to do with your health as an individual, which is why you often hear me talk about you need to grab back control of your own health. You need to basically give the proverbial middle finger to all these government guidelines, dietitians, and others that are trying to tell you to do things that you know don't work, and you do what you know works for you. If that means you need to tinker around with a ketogenic diet, you tinker around with it. If it means you need to maybe try cycling your carbs, if you think that's going to work, you tinker with it. If you want to try more of a carnivore type of diet to see what a meat-based only diet would do for you, you tinker with it. They're not telling us the truth. And in light of them not telling us the truth, we have to be the adult in this situation and do what's best for us. Dr. Volek is so right here. They need to change their policy. They need to be paying attention. We need to get these costs associated with obesity and diabetes and heart disease all under control. But if they're going to stay stuck on stupid, you don't need to be a part of that. You're going to get caught in the crosshairs of all that. And at the end of the day, you're going to die prematurely. You're not going to be healthy. It's one reason I'm such a strong personal advocate for people being their best doctor. You're your own doctor. Now, that doesn't mean you have the medical training. Definitely consult with doctors. But at the end of the day, you are the final arbiter in what you do about your health. You don't listen to all these voices out there telling you to do this, telling you to do that, when you know good and well those things they're telling you aren't going to work for you because you've tried them and they failed. Grab back control of your own health, you guys. Dr. Volek says the evidence is clear. If we don't change course, many Americans will continue to follow guidelines that will not only improve their health, won't improve their health, but could make them even sicker. We're already seeing it. And I think that's what COVID-19 is exposing, you guys. The most vulnerable in our population got that way because of these guidelines. And they pretend like they've made us healthier. No. We can alter this path by acknowledging that low carbohydrate nutrition requires a more personalized approach. Our nation has embraced personalized medicine, and it's transforming health care. Personalized medicine should have been medicine all along. I credit functional medicine practitioners out there for helping to move this personalized medicine movement along, because they have been champions of getting to the root cause of why you're dealing with health issues. Not putting a Band-Aid on it, not just looking at you, okay, here's a drug to help with your symptom. They actually want to know why you have the issues you're dealing with. That personalized medicine is needed now more than ever before. And the unfortunate thing for the traditional medical system is they've not been trained in things like nutrition, so they don't know how to give you personalized nutrition advice that could help you with your type 2 diabetes, for example. That's a problem. Unless they've learned on their own or gone to some conference where they learn about these things, they don't know. And so I have a little bit of sympathy for the mainstream medical system, but at the same time, dang, how much information is out there on the internet right now? How many books have been written about the role positively that nutrition plays in things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, on and on and on? They're out there. There's no excuse. Let's stop pretending like, oh, I don't know. Well, okay, maybe you're so busy in your practice you don't know, but it's time to open a book. It's time to read. It's time to get back into the literature. It's time to see that there is very clear evidence for things like low carbohydrate nutrition that could be helping your patients. Now, thankfully, a lot of doctors are waking up, and a lot of them are using this approach with their patients, and those are the ones that maybe they were losing some of their original excitement about being a doctor. A lot of the doctors that I've interviewed on the Living La Vida Low Carb show, they say, when I started promoting ketogenic to my patients, I got excited to come to work again. Like, it had been many years since they'd been excited to come to work. But when you go to work and you know you can take people off of medications and get them healthier naturally, it puts a buzz all through your body if you're a medical professional. And I just wish more of them understood that and understood that this could be a powerful modality. The federal government has the opportunity now to create 2020 dietary guidelines based on the strongest, most current science that provides nutrition recommendations that all Americans can follow to improve their health and reduce our nation's healthcare costs. As healthcare costs continue to soar and chronic disease rates continue to rise, we cannot afford to wait another 5 years to get this right. So yeah, if you don't know about dietary guidelines, they only update them every 5 years. So 2020, they're going to come out with the guidelines later this year. Whatever they come out with, that's now the law of the land, the nutritional law of the land until 2025. How much worse will obesity get? How much worse will type 2 diabetes get? How much worse will heart disease get? How many more people will be sitting ducks if we have a virus that becomes a global pandemic that has all these comorbidities related to your diet and your health? Now is the time to change. Dr. Volek is spot on here. And we need to make this our wake-up call. Because if we don't wake up now, we may not wake up collectively as a society. The science is overwhelming, supporting restricting carbohydrates as an effective therapeutic approach to managing obesity, pre-diabetes, and diabetes. This case is urgent, and the solution is so apparent. What remains for the U.S. government is to step up and safeguard public health immediately. So that's Dr. Jeff Volek. He's at the Ohio State University in the Department of Human Sciences. You know him here in the keto community. He's published well over 320 peer-reviewed articles all about low-carb ketogenic and their effects on your health and performance. Guys, we need this kind of message put out there because it's long overdue. And again, I'm going to repeat it because I think it bears repeating again and again and again. If COVID-19 finally wakes up the collectiveness of our culture that we got to get our you-know-what together when it comes to our diet, then thank God it happened. Yes, it's tragic, the people that have lost their lives and the people that have lost their jobs and all the ramifications of what's happened. But if we get a paradigm shift to happen as a direct result of this COVID-19 thing coming on the scene, when it comes to our nutrition and thus our long-term health, look at all the savings, look at all the quality of life, look at the people living longer, look at all of the good things that happen in our society by making these changes. And it's so prescient. And as he said there at the end, we need to do this. It's urgent. The solution is apparent. And we just need to step up, safeguard public health. Isn't that what we're trying to do right now? Keeping people quarantined, keeping people 6 feet apart, wearing masks. Isn't that about trying to safeguard public health? Well, guess what? We need to do that kind of same thing by embracing a nutritional plan that can make people just as healthy, if not healthier. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I'm gonna pop over here to my Instagram page first, then to Facebook, finally to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Blazer Mama says, yes, in the medical field, this is called evidence-based practice. Yep. This is how new policies and practices are made. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is they want evidence-based medicine, but then when you show them evidence, they want to cherry pick the evidence. They don't really want to pay attention to evidence that maybe they don't personally agree with. Blazer Mama says, I cut out a diabetes medication today, in fact, so yes, it is possible. It is. It happens, it happens. I'd say learn what research is, peer-reviewed research, learn about literature reviews. You can separate what is legit from what is not. Yeah, I did a whole Jimmy Rants, I think last week, on how all research is not the same, that you really want to look at randomized controlled trials. That's kind of the gold standard. Double-blind placebo, all that jazz. Don't look so much at animal-based models as it applies to humans. And don't look at epidemiological studies to tell you anything conclusively about humans. All of those kind of set up a theory to test in a randomized controlled clinical trial. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here to my Facebook page. What's up, you guys? Hope you're doing well today here. All right, what do you have to say about this one today? Mitzi says the government subsidizes the growing of commodity crops that end up as ingredients in junk food. How can the USDA, which oversees that, subsidize on one hand and then malign the products that result from those crops? That's true. This is why we have lots of healthy whole grains, right, Mitzi, in the dietary guidelines, because they can't say, well, grains are the problem, and then they're subsidizing the grains to help the grain produce. Yeah, it's just a conflict of interest much, right? They simply cannot. The subsidies need to stop. Then the guidelines need to be based on rigorous science. I say that if they're going to continue to subsidize crops, the USDA, that the guidelines for diets for Americans needs to be removed from the USDA. I've always thought it was just ridiculous that you have the USDA whose sole purpose is to promote agriculture, promote the grain industry. What do you think they're going to do in the dietary guidelines? That never made any sense to me. Jill says, I've been testing blood sugar every day since you taught me long ago. Awesome. Laurie says, you're amazing. Thanks for your knowledge. You share it so abundantly. Always. That's what we do here. Mitzi says, healthcare for profit does not benefit the patient. No. Healthcare for profit, that's almost an oxymoron. Isn't the purpose of healthcare to get the patient healthy and not worry about making money? Now I get it. These hospitals need money to survive, and doctors. People think if you're a doctor, you make loads of money. No. Family doctors don't make hardly any money. Doctors kind of just get by. It's the specialists that make the money, the ones doing the heart procedures and that kind of thing. But that's why I think family doctors have your best interest in mind. They just don't have the knowledge to teach you. But it's why so many people who get into promoting low-carb diets with their patients, so many medical doctors, it's because they have that heart for their patient and they realize there's a better way than what they were taught. Isn't it interesting that we take health advice from people who have a vested interest in our illness? Yeah, I've always wondered about that one too, Mitzi, that, if you start getting healthy, why you need to go see your doctor anymore? To which I say doctors could shift their business model. You don't have to be a sick care facility. You could be a healthcare facility if you're truly teaching people about being healthy. What you do is you get them healthy, and then you continue having learning classes and seminars, and it be educational for those people that would be interested in that. You could make that a business model to make money, to promote healthy practices so that you avoid coming to see the doctor and you live longer and quality of life is better. A holistic kind of approach of a medical center would be amazing. Christine says, I thank God every day that I found this keto thing 3 years ago. Not only myself, but my husband and grown children and grandchildren are all on keto too. Type 2 diabetes, A1C, now 5.5. That's awesome. I couldn't imagine if it had been full-blown diabetes like I used to be, if we had a pandemic back then. So thankful for all the keto heroes like you, Jimmy, who helped to educate me with your videos. Well, Christine, that's awesome. Congratulations for your success and keep up the good work. All right, let's see what you guys have to say over here on YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. All right. Minister Slow Stroker, doctors aren't interested in healing people. They're interested in customers. And I get that jaded position. Trust me, I get that position so much. Because, you start making people healthier. Why do they need to come see you? But again, I think you can change your business model from keeping people sick to keep them customers to making them healthy and then continuing to offer ways for them to continue learning to stay healthy. And you could monetize that. Doctors would have to get creative, but there wouldn't be an ICD code for come to my seminar on why your mineral deficiency needs to be shored up, blah, blah. They wouldn't be able to do that, but they could do it outside of the medical system. Would not be hard. All right, let me come back over here to my Instagram page. See if there's any final comments before we get off of here. And there is not. So guys, Dr. Jeff Volek, he was a hero today. Really, really, really loved this article. Again, it was in thehill.com. Nutrition policy must be at the center of the conversation. He's one of our own. He's one of the researchers looking at low-carb ketogenic diets, trying to help people understand that it is the centerpiece. Nutrition is to your health. And the sooner that we get the powers that be to understand that, and that this is a part of safeguarding public health, the better. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content, but you got to go follow me right here. Instagram at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live in the content. We go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, sometimes 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekend, but almost always 11 a.m. Eastern Time during the week. So go check it out, you guys. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page. Thank you guys for being here, as well as on YouTube Live. Thank you all for being here and being a part of the Jimmy Rants family. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay right here on Instagram. IGTV is where they host all of the past episodes. We also put them up over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Finally, you can also go to JimmyRants.com, and on there you'll see all the past episodes. Forever and ever, amen. We're quickly approaching 500 episodes of Jimmy Rants, so lots and lots to catch up on if you have not seen them. Molly says, You practice the way you're trained. Sports emergency services and medicine change the training. Yeah, oh, that's a whole nother topic about how these medical professionals are trained and their lack of nutrition. Yeah, you're right. We do need to change that. But if we could just get them to acknowledge the research that is out there vis-a-vis low-carb ketogenic diets, that would be a great start. So, all right, Instagram, that's it for now. Until next time, we'll see you then. All right.